Well, gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks, Thierry. Thanks, Andres. Actually, flying in all the way from Bangkok. So today's discussion really is about your experiences as a judge. What have you sort of taken away from it? So if, without actually mentioning any names, of course, about any of the entries, would you like to sort of start by sharing some key highlights? What were your big takeaways about the entries? And are there any sort of common patterns that you see across the entries? Who would like to go first? Thierry? You seem to have some notes.
No, I have notes, but
okay.
I'll let Andreas go.
He has an advantage. I've been a couple of weeks ago. I've been for the APEC Effies. 2 weeks ago for the Malaysian Effies, and now I'm here for the Hong Kong Effies. So I have kind of a spread of Effie experiences, and it's actually quite interesting. I think on one hand, the quality of the submissions, I think, getting better, but at the same time, I think they're getting actually more formulaic. Right. So there is an improvement, but also not. I think one big thing that really kind of bothers me, to be honest, is that I think about 70% of all cases, at least that I read, are somewhat with the help of some Gen AI, and that makes it very formulaic because cases sound similar, and that I think is not a good development because I think that Gen AI is it's a bit like Instagram for language. It makes everything sound kind of good, but if it doesn't have substance, it doesn't make it actually better. So in a way, there is improvement, but on the other hand, there's also a certain depreciation, I would say.
Yeah, I'll second that. Look, I mean, it's been not a while since I judged Effie, but I mean, I've written quite a fair bit of cases. But here's my pet peeve. I think that the submission quality, definitely in terms of the content, has dramatically improved. Right. I think my biggest issue with that is it's still not tailored to what is the entry you are entering into the category. And that makes it super frustrating when you read, because you have a lot of campaigns that are entered in multiple categories for the right reasons, but it's a cookie cutter. There is no tailoring to why that makes it so special for that particular category. Take, for example, special category like AI, or the use of influencer, or use of micro-influencer and things. There's no subtle nuance and differences. It's kind of copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And we have, unfortunately, to extract the value, and that generates quite a lot of debates in terms of how we read this. But it would definitely be, I think there's room for improvement in order not to leave things to interpretation for the jury to decide your fate, right? So you have to take that into this. So I agree definitely on this. I think, and then if you're asking in terms like quite a big trend that I've seen in a lot of the entries and consistency is, oh my God, the use of influencers. Yeah. Oh, I'm like, so as you know, I am out of the industry, but still in creativity. And I'm asking myself, can we actually now sell or impact the world without influencers? Because everything is with influencers. And I remember the days where we didn't have influencers, we created influencers, we created culture. We didn't borrow. So here's the question.
Interesting that you bring up this topic about influencers, because recently I've been seeing some researches about the role of creators in actually helping build a brand. At least so it feels like it's quite a mixed bag out there. It's handled well. It can actually bring a lot of long-term benefits to the brand. As well. So talking about that, one of the hot topics that I've been seeing coming from a lot of the Effie's databases in the past is actually, other research agencies and certain, everybody's favorite marketing consultant, marketing guru, Mark Ritson, and teaming up with an agency like System One Research, which is based in California, and they've basically trawled through several years of Effie award entries to start to identify some of the key insights that are coming through. And the hottest topic of brand building versus performance marketing is back on the table. It's probably one of the number one pieces of hot debates there. So he talks about saying that there's been a rise in short-termism in the last sort of 12, 15 years, mainly correlated with the rise of digital media. So, but brand building is finding its way back at the moment, and you famously have this Gen AI, OpenAI, throwing out a 30-second TV commercial campaign shot with real people, real actors, a real director, and on 35mm cinema film. So from that kind of that brand building versus performance marketing, what did you see in the entries? Was there a skew? Were there any high quality entries when it comes to particularly brand building and the value of brands in creating future demand? Did you see any of that coming through?
I'll go. I mean, few.
Few as in not too many.
Not too many.
Right.
There were some that were deliberate. There were some that you could already see the impact it could have long term, and why they were doing it, and that made complete sense. I think that's for me in those instances it was boldness, not in specifically the creative approach to it. I think boldness more from the clients to try something new and to experiment with something and different audience, for example, or different ways of talking to people. And you could see that was deliberately, but that was also experimenting, but building for the future.
Right.
It was setting up a new direction or a direction that the general public wouldn't be kind of like used to and would even question. But a lot of them were, this is the problem, we want to do this, it's short term, it's a campaign burst. Did we manage to, did we achieve the targets around and the KPIs? Yeah. Did it change behavior? Not really. It's just
right.
A lot of it is promo, so it's kind of like the KPIs are set up and it's like the metrics is, okay, did we do this? Did we move the needle? I didn't see a lot of moving the needle in NPS, and properly.
Right.
It was more, X%. Yes, we overachieved, always overachieved, or we met the target. But it was very in the moment, address the problem. It wasn't kind of looking.
Right. Andreas, what was your take on that?
Well, first of all, I don't really see a difference between performance marketing and brand marketing. For me, every marketing has to be performance, because otherwise why you do it in the first place? So if you do brand marketing, then that's also for a certain performance, just a different kind of performance. Second, I think there is no contradiction that you can do promotion and still build a brand. This is only a kind of mental construct that the one thing is the one thing and the other is the other. I think good brands with a good proposition, with a purpose, with something that they actually want to kind of bring to this world, will, whether they make a promotion or some long-term whatever, will always link back to the brand. So I don't see necessarily that this is, you have to decide either or. I think this is a myth for me. Maybe a lazy myth, because it's easier to do promotions with some promotional feature without actually thinking about the brand. But that doesn't have to be this way, first of all. Second, I agree. I think many of the submissions were by nature more short-term, I felt. And I feel there's a general movement at the moment within the Effies and in the industry to be more short-term. Economy is not doing well, and so on and so on. Everyone is a bit concerned. There's a reason why brand exists, and it seems like we have forgotten about that. Brand has a purpose, and it has a purpose of swaying people towards the product, of basically being conduit between the consumer and the product. And that function is not going away. The question is whether marketers use it or not. And I wish and I hope I will see more of that in future that actually shows and illustrates to the industry the value of brand. Because we seem to have over digital influencers and the like forgotten that it's not an influencer who creates the brand, it's the marketeer who basically provides the foundation of a brand and then chooses a influencer or other devices in order to bring that brand alive. So it's not something that you hand over to anyone. So more of that thinking I wish to see in future entrances. And you mentioned Mark Ritson. I think this is something that I feel is somewhat lacking in APAC in general. Thought leadership and discussion about how marketing actually works. It feels that everyone is just busy with doing and chasing revenue, chasing the next thing, rather than kind of thinking about, well, how do we achieve something, which is the purpose of the Effies in general, right? So bringing more of this thinking actually in the everyday, which is where it should be, to actually show the value of marketing and communication to the business and help business to understand that marketing is there to help business succeed. Right. It's not a cost to the business, an investment into the business, into the success of the business. That should kind of be more at the forefront, both of Effies, but of our industry in general.
That's interesting. I mean, Thierry, you brought up a very interesting point about KPIs, and it's all very short term. It's so let's talk a little bit about the way it's measured. I mean, after all, at the end of the day, the thing that differentiates the Effies is that you've got to start with showing results here. It's about effectiveness. What kinds of metrics have you seen dominating? Yes, it's short term, but are there sort of specific kinds of metrics that you see dominating? What kinds of metrics would you like to see a little bit more of for the future? Even if it goes all the way into business metrics and so on and so forth. So can we
yes.
Can you share your thoughts on the measurement and the metrics part of it?
Yes, happy to go first. I feel that there are a lot of standardized metrics in cases, unfortunately, which actually doesn't help those cases. For me, metrics are a way of validating strategy and helping direct strategy. And so metrics need to be specific to your strategy. If you want to build a brand, then you need brand metrics. If you want to engage people, you need engagement metrics, right? And you need a measurement system that actually makes this sensible and actually causal, ideally, right? Not correlation, but causation, that I can say, okay, you did this and that's why that's happening. And I think a lot of cases unfortunately throw metrics at you. It's like, oh, look, we have all this and, oh, we have so much reach. Well, reach is something you just buy. This is not something that is a big achievement, right? Unless you can make your point that is organic and it wouldn't happen otherwise. So I feel that many cases could actually be better if they have specific metrics that actually highlights the strategy and the strength of the strategy, and B, cuts away everything that you actually don't need. That is just like nice to have or vanity metrics, but actually just adds volume to a case, but not to the strategy and to the result itself. So I feel there's still a lot of room of improvement when it comes to proving that actually whatever you set up to do, you actually achieve. There's often a very, very weak link, unfortunately.
Interesting.
So it's quite interesting, and I think my point of view is quite close. It's just, interestingly enough, I had a conversation in the office this afternoon about that, and about KPIs and things like that, and how we should think. As we were solutioning or creating an hypothesis on things, and said we need to look at the metrics. What do we ultimately want to improve, right? Which translate in consulting jargon as KPIs, because you need to give hard facts, right? What needles are you going to push up, what levers and things, not how it's going to move and all of this. And you need to have that very clearly defined upfront, because whatever solution that you're going to put or whatever discussion you're going to have around your ideas need to take that into consideration already from the get-go. What we've seen, or what my assumption is, that none of this is being done in the cases that I've done. It's kind of like, here's a laundry list of, this is KPIs based on the brief, what the client asks us to do, and therefore we need to answer, and we need to put all of that. And then we're going to put all of these.
Right.
So the more KPIs, the better. The reality is, the less KPI, the better, because the more KPI, as you were saying, you start and it's like, ooh, impressive, and then suddenly you pull one up. I'll give you one. Manage to, I don't know, gather 1 million person in the streets to demonstrate and blah, 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 blah. The campaign is a little bit of a promotional gimmick or, and things like that, all right? And we converted 10,000 people. But that's buried, like further 10 KPIs. Guess what happened? You would like go, red flag. All of that money, yeah, created that impact, but suddenly it's like, yeah, it didn't work.
It didn't work.
So you didn't have that change, and you didn't create a movement, or you didn't really generate impact. It was just a stunt, right. In a way. So, and I think the judges, or because of the unique nature of the judges, who are very mixed, and professional marketeers, consultants, creative, and things, that we'll look at all of these elements. That we really look into it. The data helps us read, and for me, it helped me read was did it work in what it was supposed to do? Then I'm being selective, But we've had cases where it was like, you start reading it, it's like, this is phenomenal, and then suddenly it just gets worse and worse and worse by the time you finish. And you say, okay, you started at, say, 80 out of 100, and then suddenly you go 50. So that's kind of like, so for me, it's like, I would say, I would love to tell, agencies, like, watch this carefully. Yeah. Sometimes, and actually most often, less is more.
Yeah. It's totally right. I think the less is more when it comes to metrics is such an often ignored piece. There's a sort of a spray and pray approach. The more the metrics, the better it is. That just shows often that marketers haven't probably thought through the objectives of what they're actually going after. If you know the real objectives, if you define the objectives with precision, then you know exactly what you're going to measure. So that's an interesting thing. You mentioned right at the outset that overall you felt that the overall quality of the entries has gone up. Were there any key highlights, top two sort of takeaways in terms of what the good ones really did well that we can give to people, saying that this is what starts to look like a good entry? Any key highlights, any key observations, takeaways?
Yeah, for me, there's always two components, very simply. You need, first of all, have a case. Like, if you don't have a case, if you don't have anything interesting to say, then it's difficult. You can't really kind of write your way into an Effie award. You need to have something solid. But I think the second thing is, in a lot of cases, I think miss that part, is actually having a story to tell. And I like to look at the Effies as advertising for advertising, or advertising for marketing. It's like a long copy ad, and that long copy ad is for a particular target group. It's the jury, us, right? And like I said, it's a very diverse group of people. They all look at it in a bit different way. So you need to have a story to tell that actually interests a large variety of people, and that's that's smart thinking. That's smart doing this. Oh, this is remarkable as in it deserves a recognition. Huh? So that ad needs to sway people on your side and say, I side with you. I think this is stuff that's worth to be recognized, and it tells the industry something that it can orientate themselves. Good thinking behind it, a good insight, a good way of solving something, and focusing on this and telling this in such a way that people actually get it. And also what we said earlier regarding measurement, that there's causality, that they're not just numbers that look good, but they can lead from one thing to the other and say, because of this, that happens, and because of that, that happens. Right. So that easy explained, that's really what you want to see in a case. And one thing is, I don't want to make it sound that this, oh my God, this is so complicated. Actually, it's the opposite. It's really simple, but doing something simple is often difficult. So it's working your way into that simplicity that other people actually see that and saying, wow, this was good thinking. So it's these two components, having a case, but then writing it in such a way that it sways the jury.
Awesome.
Look, for an industry that prides itself on storytelling,
I was about to say that.
and for engineering case studies, video that are phenomenal, when you read this, you can say, well, we're not good at actually setting ourselves. Because you read the case. And I agree with what you say. It's tell me a story. Tell me, you need to hook me. And I think everybody needs to understand how maybe how this unfolds, in the jury. You have one section, and they know, one section here, then you have another section, the third section, and the fourth section. If you fail miserably in your introduction and your context setting, you don't hook me up. It's not like I'm not going to read, because we are quite diligent and we read, but you've lost me already. Right? So if you want to hook me on the back of it, that means maybe you don't have a case, or your idea is pretty bad. Okay.
Well, that's really interesting. I think that note, storytelling, at the end of the day, it's about how you set up the case, how do you present a compelling case. Writing the case itself is an art form in itself, to be able to convince, exactly like you said, the jury members itself. Gentlemen, thank you very much for that. That was really, really helpful. So look forward to seeing who the award winners are in a short while.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.